The Great Hall of the Galactic Council was filled with beings from 100 different worlds. Light from 3 distant suns poured through crystal windows that stretched higher than any building on Earth. Floating platforms carried delegates from species that had ruled the stars for thousands of years. And in the smallest seat, at the very back of the chamber, sat Ambassador Kevin Price of Earth. He kept his face calm as the Zenthari representative spoke. Counselor Vethrak was a tall creature with gray skin and 4 arms. His voice carried across the chamber like thunder. "The humans request expanded trade routes," Vethrak said, and his thin mouth curved into something like a smile. "How amusing. Perhaps we should also give them permission to visit our zoos." Laughter filled the chamber. Dozens of alien voices joined together in mockery. Kevin sat still and said nothing. He had learned patience in his 12 years as Earth's ambassador. He had learned to swallow his pride and remember the mission. Earth had made first contact with the galaxy 30 years ago. A Korvan exploration ship had found human radio signals and followed them to the small blue planet on the edge of the Milky Way. The aliens had expected to find primitive creatures. Instead, they found cities, technology, and 6 billion people who looked up at the stars with hungry eyes. The Galactic Council had granted Earth provisional membership, but that membership came with chains. Humans were classified as a developing civilization. They could not vote on council matters. They could not travel beyond approved routes. They were watched, measured, and found lacking by species who had walked among the stars when humans still lived in caves. Kevin waited for the laughter to fade. Then he stood and spoke in a steady voice. "Earth simply wishes to trade fairly with our galactic neighbors. We have resources and goods that may interest other worlds." Vethrak waved one of his 4 hands in dismissal. "You have nothing we want, human. Your planet is small. Your technology is primitive. Be grateful we allow you to exist at all." More laughter. Kevin nodded politely and sat back down. His hands were steady, but inside his chest his heart burned with quiet anger. He thought of his daughter back on Earth. He thought of the billions of people who watched these sessions and saw their species treated like animals. But he also thought of the message he had received that morning from Admiral Karen Mitchell. The message had contained only 4 words. Phase 3 is complete. Kevin allowed himself a tiny smile that no alien eye could see. 8 billion kilometers away, Admiral Karen Mitchell stood in a room that did not officially exist. The facility was built deep inside the ice of Europa, hidden from every scanner and satellite that the Council used to watch humanity. Around her, screens displayed information that would have shocked the entire galaxy. "The quantum fold drive is ready for full deployment," said Dr. Nathan Cole. He was a thin man with tired eyes and messy hair. He had spent 15 years working on technology that the Council believed was impossible. "We can move a ship across the galaxy in seconds. No other species has anything close to this." Karen nodded slowly. She was 60 years old, with gray hair cut short and a face marked by decades of military service. She had been 25 when the aliens first arrived. She remembered the fear and wonder of those early days. She also remembered the moment when Earth's leaders made their decision. "Show me the fleet status," she said. Nathan touched a control panel. The main screen changed to show a map of the solar system. Hidden in the asteroid belt, marked by small blue dots, were 200 warships. Each one was more advanced than anything the Council had ever seen. Each one had been built in secret over 20 years of careful work. "All ships are combat ready," Nathan said. "Weapon systems, shields, and fold drives are fully operational." Karen studied the map for a long moment. "And the Council still believes we have nothing but chemical rockets and basic fusion drives?" "They believe exactly what we want them to believe. Nathan's voice carried a hint of satisfaction. Their observers see only what we show them. Old technology, slow progress, a species struggling to catch up. Karen walked to a window that looked out into the dark waters of Europa's ocean. Strange fish swam past, glowing with soft light. She had spent most of her life building toward this moment. Every insult, every mockery, every dismissive laugh from alien delegates had only made her more determined. "We could end their arrogance tomorrow," she said quietly. "We could show them what we really are." Nathan came to stand beside her. "But we won't. Not yet. The plan requires patience." "I know." Karen turned away from the window. "We watch, we learn, we prepare, and when the time comes, we will be ready." On the other side of the solar system, Captain Daniel Hayes guided his patrol ship through the darkness between Mars and Jupiter. He was 42 years old, with broad shoulders and a calm face that rarely showed emotion. His crew respected him because he never asked them to do anything he would not do himself. His ship was called the Wanderer, and officially it was just a simple patrol vessel watching for asteroids. But Daniel knew the truth. Every patrol was a training mission. Every crew member was being prepared for something bigger. His communications officer, Lieutenant Maya Torres, looked up from her station. "Captain, we have a coded message from Earth Defense Command." Daniel walked to her station and read the message on her private screen. His expression did not change, but Maya noticed his hands tighten slightly on the edge of her console. "New orders?" she asked. "Not yet," Daniel said. "But soon. They want me back on Earth for a special assignment." He looked out at the stars through the viewport. Somewhere out there, alien empires laughed at his species and planned to keep humanity trapped in their tiny corner of space forever. Daniel had never been a patient man, but he had learned patience from Admiral Mitchell. He had learned that sometimes the best weapon was silence. Let your enemies think you are weak. Let them grow confident and careless. And when they finally push too far, show them the truth. "Set a course for Earth," he told Maya. "Best speed." "Yes, sir." Maya entered the commands, and the Wanderer turned toward home. Daniel stood at the viewport and watched the stars slide past. 30 years of silence, 30 years of insults and mockery. He wondered how much longer Earth would have to wait. He did not know that the answer would come very soon, and when it came, the galaxy would never be the same. The Centennial Summit of the Galactic Council was the biggest event in 100 years. Every major species sent their highest leaders to Arvith Prime, the ancient world that served as the capital of galactic civilization. Ships from 1,000 worlds filled the space around the planet, their lights creating a second sky of moving stars. Ambassador Kevin Price arrived on a small transport that looked old and worn compared to the gleaming vessels around it. This was intentional. Everything about humanity's public image was carefully designed to make them seem weak and unimportant. Kevin walked through halls of polished stone that were older than human civilization. Alien delegates moved past him without a second glance. A few gave him looks of pity. Others simply laughed quietly among themselves. The main chamber was vast beyond imagination. Floating seats carried thousands of representatives from hundreds of worlds. At the center, on a raised platform of white crystal, sat the High Arbiter Morvine. She was ancient, even by alien standards. Her blue skin wrinkled with age, her eyes still sharp with intelligence. Kevin took his place in the human section. It was far from the center, behind the seats of species that had joined the Council only a few centuries ago. Even newcomers were considered more important than Earth. Counselor Vethrak rose to speak. His gray skin seemed to shine under the chamber lights, and his forearms moved with practiced grace as he addressed the assembly. "My fellow council members," he began, his voice filling every corner of the vast room. "We gather today to discuss a matter of great importance, The status of the human species. Kevin felt his stomach tighten. He had expected something like this, but hearing the words still sent a chill through his body. Vethrak continued with a smile that showed too many teeth. For 30 years, we have watched humanity struggle to find their place among the stars. We have been patient. We have been kind. But it is now clear that they are not ready for the responsibilities of galactic citizenship. He waved one hand, and images appeared in the air above the chamber. Pictures of Earth, pictures of human cities and farms and factories, pictures that made everything look small and primitive. Look at their world, Vethrak said. They still burn dead plants for energy. They still fight wars among themselves. They have made almost no progress in their technology since we found them. The images changed to show human art and music, paintings and sculptures, concert halls and theaters. Vethrak's voice dripped with contempt. They spend their time making pictures and sounds instead of advancing their civilization. They are clever animals, nothing more. Animals who learned to build rockets by accident. Laughter erupted across the chamber. Thousands of alien voices joined in mockery. Kevin sat perfectly still, his face showing nothing, while inside he felt anger building like pressure in his chest. Vethrak raised his arms for silence. Therefore, I propose that humanity be placed under protective supervision. The Xanthari Dominion will take responsibility for guiding their development. Their ships will be confined to their home system. Their communications will be monitored. And in time, perhaps in another 1,000 years, they may be ready to try again. The High Arbiter spoke for the first time. This is a serious proposal, Counselor. Protective supervision has not been used in 600 years. Because no species has been as disappointing as humanity, Vethrak replied. We must protect them from themselves. Kevin stood. His movement was so unexpected that the chamber fell silent. All eyes turned to the small human in his plain gray suit. May I speak? Kevin asked. Vethrak laughed. Of course, human. Tell us why we should not do this. Entertain us with your words. Kevin looked around the chamber. He saw faces of every shape and color. He saw eyes that held contempt, amusement, and occasionally pity. He saw no respect. I only wish to ask one question, Kevin said. His voice was steady and calm. Do you truly believe that humanity has nothing to offer the galaxy? More laughter. Vethrak spread all four arms wide. What could you possibly offer? Your technology is centuries behind ours. Your art is primitive. Your music is noise. You are children playing at civilization. Kevin nodded slowly. I understand. Thank you for making your feelings clear. He sat down without another word. The vote was held minutes later. The motion passed with overwhelming support. Only a handful of species voted against it, and their objections were ignored. The session ended with Vethrak announcing that Xanthari ships would arrive at Earth within 1 month to begin the supervision process. Kevin walked out of the chamber with his head held high, ignoring the whispers and laughter that followed him. He reached his transport and entered a private communication room. His hands were shaking now, but not with fear. He typed a short message and sent it to Earth on a channel that the Council did not know existed. They've made their choice. The silence ends. On Earth, the broadcast of the Council session was watched by 8 billion people. They saw their ambassador mocked. They saw their species called animals. They saw the vote that would have made humanity slaves in all but name. Admiral Karen Mitchell watched from her office in Geneva. Her face was hard as stone. When the broadcast ended, she picked up a phone and spoke 3 words: Execute Protocol Prometheus. Within hours, Captain Daniel Hayes received new orders. He was to take command of the Horizon's Edge, the most advanced warship humanity had ever built. a ship that officially did not exist. Daniel stood on the bridge of his new command and looked at his crew. Maya Torres was at the tactical station. Nathan Cole was there as chief science officer, his tired eyes now bright with anticipation. 50 other crew members filled the bridge, all of them the best that Earth had to offer. "You all saw what happened today," Daniel said. His voice was quiet, but carried to every ear. "For 30 years, we let them think we were nothing. We let them laugh at us. We let them plan our subjugation." He paused and looked at the main view screen, which showed the stars waiting beyond Earth's atmosphere. "That ends now. We're not going to start a war. We're not going to kill anyone unless we have no choice. But we are going to show them the truth." Maya spoke up. "What is the truth, Captain?" Daniel allowed himself a small smile. "The truth is that while they were laughing, we were working. While they were mocking us, we were building. And while they were planning to put us in chains, we were preparing to break free." He turned to face the view screen fully. "Take us out, Lieutenant. It's time the galaxy learned that Earth is not afraid." The horizon's edge rose from its hidden dock in the asteroid belt. Its engines made no sound in the vacuum of space, but they burned with a light that no alien technology could match. The silence was over, and humanity was ready to speak. The Xanthari patrol fleet arrived at the edge of Earth's solar system exactly on schedule. 12 warships, each one massive and bristling with weapons that could destroy cities. Commander Threll stood on the bridge of the lead vessel and looked at the tiny blue dot in the distance. "Begin broadcast," he ordered. His gray skin was darker than Counselor Vethrak's, marked with the scars of many battles. He had conquered 3 worlds in his career. This mission would be the easiest of his life. "Attention, human vessels," his voice boomed across every frequency. "This is Commander Threll of the Xanthari Dominion. By order of the Galactic Council, you are now under protective supervision. All ships will power down their engines and prepare for inspection. Any resistance will be met with force." He waited for a response. The humans would probably beg. They always did, the weak species. They would plead for mercy and promise to cooperate. It would be pathetic and satisfying. But the response that came was not what he expected. The space in front of his fleet rippled like water. Reality itself seemed to bend and fold. And then, from nowhere, a ship appeared. It was beautiful in a way that made Threll's breath catch in his throat. The hull was smooth and dark, shaped like a blade cutting through the void. It was smaller than his warships, but something about it felt dangerous, wrong, impossible. "What is that?" he demanded. "Where did it come from? Why didn't our sensors detect it?" His officers scrambled to answer. Their screens showed nothing useful. The strange ship had simply appeared, as if it had stepped through a door from another universe. A communication signal came through. Threll accepted it, his 4 hands gripping his command chair tightly. A human face appeared on his view screen, a man with calm eyes and a steady voice. He wore a uniform that Threll had never seen before, dark blue with silver markings. "Commander Threll," the human said, "I am Captain Daniel Hayes of the Earth vessel Horizon's Edge. You are approaching sovereign human space. I strongly suggest you turn around." Threll laughed, though the sound was forced. "You suggest? One little ship suggests that I turn around 12 warships? Human, your arrogance is amusing." "It's not arrogance," Daniel replied. "It's a statement of fact. Your ships cannot match our technology. Your weapons cannot penetrate our shields. And your sensors cannot even track our movements properly. This is not a threat. This is information you need to make a wise decision." Threll felt anger rising in his chest. "You dare speak to me this way? I have destroyed fleets larger than your entire species could build. Your tiny planet will burn for this insult." Daniel shook his head slowly, Commander, I'm trying to avoid violence. Earth has no desire for war. But we will not accept supervision or subjugation. We are not the weak species you believe us to be. We never were. Lies! Thrall slammed one fist against his chair. All our observations show that human technology is primitive. You have nothing but chemical rockets and basic fusion drives. We showed you what we wanted you to see, Daniel said simply. For 30 years, we let the galaxy believe we were helpless. We studied your technology, your tactics, your weaknesses, and we built something better. Thrall turned to his weapons officer. Target that ship. All batteries fire. 12 Zenthari warships opened fire at once. Beams of energy that could melt through mountains streaked toward the horizon's edge. Missiles capable of cracking continents raced through the void. None of them hit. The human ship moved like nothing Thrall had ever seen. It was there, then it was somewhere else, then it was somewhere else again. It left no trail, made no visible thrust. It simply existed in one place, and then existed in another, faster than his sensors could follow. Keep firing, Thrall screamed. Hit them. But every shot missed. Every missile flew through empty space where the human ship had been moments before. Then the horizon's edge stopped moving. It hung in space directly in front of Thrall's flagship, close enough that he could see the details of its hull through his viewport. Daniel's voice came through the communication channel again. That was your free demonstration, Commander. Now let me show you what we can do. Lieutenant Maya Torres had been waiting for this moment her entire career. Her fingers danced across the tactical controls, and the horizon's edge began to fire. But these were not killing shots. Every beam, every pulse, every burst of energy was precisely targeted. Power systems, engine cores, weapon arrays, shield generators. One by one, the Zenthari ships went dark. It took 7 minutes. 7 minutes to disable 12 warships without killing a single crew member. When it was over, Thrall sat in darkness on his bridge. Emergency lights flickered red around him. His officers stared at their dead consoles with expressions of pure shock. Daniel's face appeared on the emergency backup screen. Your crews are unharmed. Your life support systems are intact. Rescue ships will arrive from your territory within a few days. Thrall found his voice. Why? Why didn't you destroy us? Because we're not conquerors, Daniel said. We're not tyrants. We don't want to rule the galaxy or punish anyone. We just want to be treated with respect. He paused, and his eyes seemed to look directly into Thrall's soul. Go back to your masters, Commander. Tell them what happened here. Tell them that Earth remembers every insult, every laugh, every moment of contempt. And tell them that we choose to respond with mercy instead of vengeance. But that choice has limits. The communication ended. The horizon's edge turned and vanished, folding space around itself and disappearing like a dream upon waking. Thrall sat alone in the darkness, surrounded by the humming of emergency systems. For the first time in his long military career, he understood what it felt like to be completely outmatched. The news spread across the galaxy like fire. A single human ship had defeated 12 Zenthari warships in 7 minutes without destroying any of them. The technology they displayed was impossible, centuries beyond anything the Council species possessed. On Arveth Prime, the Galactic Council met in emergency session. Councillor Vethrak screamed for war, demanding that every species contribute ships to crush humanity before they became a greater threat. But others hesitated. They had seen the recordings from Thrall's fleet. They had watched the impossible movements of the human ship. They had heard Daniel's words about mercy and limits. High Arbiter Morvine called for calm. We must understand what we are facing before we act, she said. The humans have revealed a fraction of their capabilities. We do not know how much more they are hiding. They are hiding nothing, Vethrak shouted. One ship defeated one patrol fleet through trickery and surprise. 1,000 ships will crush them easily. Morvine looked at him with ancient eyes. Are you certain of that, counselor? Are you willing to stake your entire civilization on that certainty? Vethrak had no answer. Meanwhile, across the galaxy, one message played on repeat from every disabled Zenthari ship. It was a simple message, broadcast in every known language. Earth remembers, Earth responds. And in the depths of the human solar system, 200 more ships waited for their orders. Captain Daniel Hayes stood on the bridge of the horizon's edge and watched the stars. The first battle was over. The real test was yet to come. The Galactic Council's response came faster than anyone expected. Within 2 weeks, 5 major species had agreed to form a combined military force. 3,000 warships gathered at the edge of Council space, the largest fleet assembled in 500 years. Counselor Vethrak stood on the command platform of the flagship, watching the endless rows of vessels stretch across the viewscreen. His confidence had returned. No matter how advanced human technology might be, numbers were numbers. Even the strongest fighter could be overwhelmed by 100 opponents. We will burn their planet to glass, he declared to the assembled commanders. We will make an example that the galaxy will remember for 10,000 years. No primitive species will ever dare challenge the Council again. The fleet began its journey toward Earth. At faster-than-light speeds, they would arrive in 6 days. 6 days, until humanity learned the cost of defiance. On Earth, Admiral Karen Mitchell received reports of the approaching armada. She stood in the underground command center beneath Geneva, surrounded by screens showing ship movements across the galaxy. Her face was calm, but her mind was racing through calculations and contingencies. 3,000 ships, her aide said quietly. Even with our technology advantage, those numbers are overwhelming. Karen shook her head. Numbers only matter if you fight on your enemy's terms. We're not going to meet them in open battle. She pressed a button on her console. Captain Hayes, are you in position? Daniel's voice came through the speaker. All ships are ready, Admiral. 200 vessels, scattered across the galaxy, waiting for your signal. Execute Operation Homecoming. Show them what we've been doing for 30 years. Across the galaxy, in orbit around the homeworld of the Zenthari Dominion, space rippled and tore. A human ship emerged from the fold, sleek and dark against the stars. It did not fire, it did not threaten. It simply appeared and hung there, motionless. On the bridge of that ship, a young captain named Lisa Park looked down at the alien world below. Cities glittered on the night side, connected by lines of light that marked their transportation networks. Millions of Zenthari lived down there, going about their daily lives, unaware that their entire civilization had just changed forever. Open a channel to their defense network, Lisa ordered. Broadcast our message. The same scene played out on 100 other worlds. Korvan, Lithene, Dreth, Morvani. Every major species that had contributed ships to the invasion fleet. Every homeworld that had felt safe and untouchable suddenly had a human vessel in orbit. The message was the same everywhere, delivered in calm and measured tones. People of this world, do not be afraid. We are not here to attack you. We are here to demonstrate something important. For 30 years, humanity could have struck at the heart of every empire in this galaxy. We had the technology. We had the capability. We chose peace instead. We chose patience. Remember that choice when you think about what happens next. On the Council flagship, Vethrak received the reports with growing horror. His own homeworld, his family's estate. There was a human ship hovering above them right now, and his entire defense fleet was light years away, flying toward Earth. Turn the fleet around, he screamed. We must protect our worlds. But other commanders hesitated. If they turned back now, they would be admitting defeat without firing a single shot. And if the humans were telling the truth, if they really had possessed this capability for 30 years, then there was no defense possible anyway. A communication request came through from Earth. Vethrak almost refused it, but High Arbiter Morvine accepted before he could object. Admiral Karen Mitchell's face appeared on every screen in the fleet. "Leaders of the Galactic Council," she said, "I am Admiral Karen Mitchell of Earth's United Defense Command. Before you continue toward our solar system, I want you to understand something clearly." She paused, letting the silence stretch. 30 years ago, when your ships first found us, we knew immediately that we were outmatched. Your technology was superior. Your numbers were overwhelming. If you had chosen to conquer us, we could not have stopped you. Karen's eyes swept across the screen, as if she could see every commander watching. So we made a decision. We would hide our true progress. We would let you think we were primitive and harmless. And we would watch. We learned everything about your technology, your governments, your military tactics. We studied your weaknesses and planned for every scenario. Not because we wanted to conquer you, because we wanted to survive. She gestured, and the screen split to show images of human ships orbiting alien homeworlds. Right now, 200 of our vessels are positioned above your most important worlds. We could destroy your cities. We could cripple your infrastructure. We could kill billions. We could do to you what you plan to do to us. Vethrak's hands trembled with rage and fear, but Karen's voice remained steady. We choose not to. We choose mercy, just as we did with Commander Threll's fleet. But make no mistake, this is a choice, not a weakness. If your armada attacks Earth, we will defend ourselves. And if we are forced to fight, we will not hold back. High Arbiter Morvine spoke carefully. What do you want, Admiral? What we have always wanted, Karen replied. Respect, recognition as equals, the right to exist in peace, without threats and mockery. We never asked to be your masters. We only asked not to be treated as your slaves. The communication ended, leaving 3,000 warships floating in space, suddenly uncertain of their purpose. On the Korvan homeworld, Admiral Shen looked up at the sky where he knew a human ship was watching. His daughter stood beside him, her eyes wide with fear. "Father, will they attack us?" Shen thought about the words of the human admiral, about 30 years of hidden power, about a species that could have struck first but chose to wait, about the difference between mercy and weakness. "No," he said finally, "I don't think they will, but I think they could, and that changes everything." He turned to enter his headquarters. There were calls to make, votes to change, a galaxy to rethink. In the Fleet Command Center, Vethrak was still demanding war, but fewer commanders were listening. One by one, they began sending messages to their governments. The Korvan contingent was the first to formally withdraw from the invasion force. The Morvani followed, then the Dreth. Within hours, a mighty armada had shrunk to less than 1,000 ships, all of them Zenthari. Vethrak stood alone on his bridge, watching his alliance crumble. High Arbiter Morvine appeared on his screen. "It is over, Counselor. The humans have outmaneuvered us without firing a shot. Accept it." "Never," Vethrak hissed. "I will destroy them myself if I must." But even as he spoke, he knew it was an empty threat. His homeworld was vulnerable. And somewhere in the darkness of space, Captain Daniel Hayes and the Horizon's Edge were waiting to see what he would do next. Vethrak gave the order to turn back. There was no triumph in it, no satisfaction, only the bitter taste of defeat by an enemy he had never truly understood. On Earth, billions of people watched their screens and wept with relief and joy. The invasion was over before it began. The galaxy had blinked first. Admiral Karen Mitchell allowed herself a moment of quiet satisfaction. Then she turned to her aide and said, Get me Ambassador Price. It's time to negotiate from strength. 6 months had passed since the day the galaxy changed. The Great Hall of the Galactic Council looked the same as it always had, with its crystal windows and floating platforms and delegates from 100 worlds. But everything was different now. Ambassador Kevin Price walked through the entrance and felt the shift in the air around him. Alien delegates who once ignored him now nodded in acknowledgement. Species that had laughed at humanity now watched him with careful respect. The whispers that followed him were no longer mocking. They were cautious, curious, sometimes afraid. He took his seat, but not in the distant corner where humans had been placed for 30 years. His new position was near the center of the chamber, among the representatives of the oldest and most powerful civilizations. High Arbiter Morvine called the session to order. Her ancient face showed the weariness of the past 6 months. The negotiations had been long and difficult. Many species had demanded punishment for humanity's deception. Others had argued for immediate alliance with Earth, hoping to gain access to their technology. The debates had lasted for weeks, but today the debates were over. We gather to formalize the new relationship between the Galactic Council and Earth, Morvine announced. The treaty has been approved by all member species. Ambassador Price, please rise. Kevin stood. He thought about everything that had led to this moment, the years of insults he had endured in silence, the mockery of his species, the vote that would have made humanity slaves, and then the revelation that changed everything. He thought about Admiral Karen Mitchell, who had spent decades preparing for a war she hoped would never come. He thought about Dr. Nathan Cole, whose brilliant mind had created technology that surpassed the galaxy's understanding. He thought about Captain Daniel Hayes and the crew of the Horizon's Edge, who had shown strength through restraint. And he thought about the billions of humans on Earth who had watched their species rise from ridicule to respect. Ambassador Price, Morvine said, on behalf of the Galactic Council, I extend formal recognition of Earth as a full member with complete voting rights. The Protective Supervision Decree is permanently rescinded. All restrictions on human travel and trade are lifted. Earth will be treated as an equal to any civilization in this council. Kevin bowed his head slightly. The people of Earth accept this recognition with gratitude. We look forward to a future of cooperation and mutual growth. He paused, choosing his next words carefully. But we also wish to make something clear. We did not seek this moment through conquest or intimidation. We sought it through patience and preparation. We showed mercy when we could have shown destruction. We offered peace when we could have waged war. His eyes swept across the chamber, meeting the gazes of delegates from dozens of species. We ask only that you remember this choice when you think about humanity. We are not your enemies. We never wanted to be your masters. We simply wanted to stand beside you as equals, contributing to the progress of all species. That is still our only desire. He sat down to silence. Then slowly, applause began. It started with the Korvan delegation, spread to the Morvani and the Dreth, and eventually filled the entire chamber. Even species who had voted for supervision were clapping now. Only one section remained silent. Councillor Vethrak's seat was empty. He had been removed from his position 3 months ago, disgraced and blamed for the crisis his arrogance had created. He had retreated to his family estate and refused all visitors. After the session, Kevin met with High Arbiter Morvine in her private chambers. The ancient leader moved slowly, her age weighing heavily on her thin frame. "You played a dangerous game," she said quietly, "hiding your true capabilities for 30 years. What if you had been discovered?" Kevin smiled. "Then we would have been destroyed. We knew the risk, but we also knew that revealing ourselves too early would lead to the same result, The galaxy wasn't ready to accept humanity as equals. We needed to prove ourselves in a way that couldn't be denied. Morvine nodded slowly. I voted against the supervision decree, you know. I thought it was unjust from the beginning. I know, Kevin said. We tracked every vote. We knew who our friends were, even when they couldn't help us openly. And now? Morvine asked. What will humanity do with their new position? Kevin looked out the window at the endless city that covered Arveth Prime. Millions of aliens lived down there, going about their lives under a sky that now included human ships. We'll do what we've always done, he said. We'll learn, we'll grow, we'll make friends and build alliances. We'll share our technology with those who want peace and defend ourselves against those who want war. He turned back to face her. We're not special, Arbiter. We're not chosen or superior. We're just a species that learned to survive against difficult odds. Every civilization in this council has faced similar challenges. The only difference is that we faced ours recently enough to remember the lessons. On Earth, the celebrations had finally begun to quiet. The parades and festivals had lasted for weeks, but normal life was returning. People went back to work. Children went back to school. The world kept turning, as it always had. Admiral Karen Mitchell stood on a balcony overlooking the city of Geneva. The mountains in the distance were capped with snow, and the lakes sparkled under the afternoon sun. She had spent so many years preparing for war. Now she had to learn how to prepare for peace. Dr. Nathan Cole joined her on the balcony. His hair was still messy, his eyes still tired, but there was a lightness to him that she had never seen before. The Corvan Science Council has requested a technology exchange, he said. They want to understand quantum fold theory. In return, they're offering access to their medical advances. Karen nodded. And the others? Similar requests from the Morvani and the Dreth. Even some of the smaller species are reaching out. Everyone wants to be friends with Earth now. Of course they do. Karen's voice held no bitterness, only acceptance. Power attracts friendship. It always has. Is that so bad? Nathan asked. Karen thought about it for a moment. No. It's how the galaxy works. The difference is that we get to choose what kind of power we want to be. We can be conquerors, building an empire on fear. Or we can be partners, building alliances on mutual benefit. She turned to face him. I know which one I prefer. Far above Earth, the horizon's edge orbited in the darkness. Captain Daniel Hayes stood at the observation viewport, watching the blue and green planet turn slowly below. Lieutenant Maya Torres joined him, holding 2 cups of coffee. The crew is asking what comes next, she said, handing him a cup, now that the crisis is over. Daniel took the coffee and wrapped his hands around its warmth. The crisis is over, but our work isn't. There's a whole galaxy out there, Maya. Threats we haven't seen yet. Opportunities we haven't discovered. We spent 30 years hiding. Now we get to explore. Maya smiled. Some of the younger species have started calling us the Quiet Thunder. Did you know that? I heard. Daniel allowed himself a small smile. I suppose it fits. We were quiet for a long time. And when we finally spoke, the galaxy heard us. He looked back at Earth, at the home he had spent his life protecting. 8 billion people down there, living their lives under a sky that was finally safe. They might not know his name, or the names of his crew. They might never understand the decades of sacrifice and preparation that had led to this moment. But that was okay. Daniel hadn't done it for recognition. He had done it because it was right. Because humanity deserved better than mockery and chains. Because sometimes the best way to prove your worth was to wait until the perfect moment, and then act with overwhelming precision. The galaxy had laughed at humanity. They had called humans primitive, childish, unworthy of respect. They had voted to cage Earth and treat its people like animals. They weren't laughing anymore. In the end, that was enough. Daniel finished his coffee and turned back to his bridge. There were stars to visit and mysteries to uncover. The silence was over. It was time to see what humanity could really do.